Afternoon, folks. We are going to get started now. Some people are going to be filtering throughout the session, but we'll start now. Today have a presentation from our co-facilitator from OACAS, Sonia. For anyone that has not joined us before, this is the peer-to-peer knowledge exchange. This is a monthly cross-sectoral collaboration and skill sharing hub. It's co-coordinated by StepStones for Youth and the OACAS, Ontario Associations for Children in Aid Societies. P2PKE was the vision of founder Shua Roskies at the time at the Office of the Children's Lawyer in response to gaps in services and supports during the COVID-19 pandemic. She sought to create a space in which child welfare practitioners, child and family service organizations, and youth and in and from care could come together and share best practices, amplify innovative programs and strategies to support children and youth. For today's presentation, we have Sonia Sferrazza, who will be highlighting Children and Youth in Care Day, which took place May 14th. This year's theme was Rising in Strength and Story. Members of the YouthCAN Provincial Advisory Council, along with youth guests and OACAS staff, attended the Legislative Assembly, where they had the chance to speak with Minister Parsa, participate in the panel, and make their voices heard to MPPs. Joining Sonia are a few youth guests. We have Sammy, Malaya, and Sadiqa, and together they will be sharing some of those experiences with us, including some postcard submissions, a video the team created to mark the occasion, and just a reminder for folks, the presentation is being recorded. We will be following up via email with some resources and today's slide deck. We will also be ending around 2 p.m. and open the floor up for questions after the session. And with that, I'll pass it on to Sonia.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be here and to be able to talk about this wonderful event with some of my wonderful YPAC colleagues. Unfortunately, Sadiqa can't make it today, but that's okay. We just go on. That's how we roll, right? So we are here and very excited to talk about Children and Youth in Care Day. We'll give you a little bit of background, and then we will get into our planning process and how we got to the Legislative Assembly. So before I jump into that, I just want to pass it to my YPAC team members to introduce themselves. So Malaya, I'll kick it off to you.
Hi, I'm Malaya. I've been with the YPAC, I think, for almost 3 years. It's been a while. I've liked every year of it, and I hope to have many more years. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Sammy, and I've been with the YPAC for just about a year now, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. So just a little bit of history about what the YPAC team is. The YouthCAN Provincial Advisory Council is made up of youth from care ages 18, typically 18 to 25. It is a youth-driven program, and it is meant to bring together voices from across the province and support children in and from care, unifying their voices for meaningful change, which of course was a big part of our activities for Children and Youth in Care Day. I will add that I have had the pleasure to be, I would say, YPAC adjacent for almost 3 years, but that to be one of the leaders and the mentor of this group now since September. And honestly, in my 30 years in child welfare, this is one of my greatest pleasures and honors to date. They are an incredible group of young people that come together, and we've got two great representatives here today. It is a collective voice dedicated to improving the child welfare system, but also to build and establish connections from across the province for our young people. They lead advocacy, communication, networking. They do multiple consultations, and they don't have to do it all, right? We have a really good team, so they take turns doing different things, which has been really incredible. I'm going to pass it to Malaya maybe to talk about that last point.
Um, I'm so sorry. I'm lost because the script.
Oh
What
yeah,
do
no
I
worries.
say?
Well, and this is I mean, we're just talking about that. You mentioned that you've been with the team for about 3 years now. And so we've got that history of youth advocacy and that feeling of empowering youth from across the system. We're guided by the 4 R's: relationships, resources, responsiveness, and rights. But what does that mean? So Malaya, when you say that I love it and I want to be a part of it, why is that? What is it about this YPAC team that really drives your motivation to continue to be a part of it?
Oh yeah, well, I think a lot of people they say meaningful change takes time, and like that's great, but also I think like a more important part is it takes connections, and like you need people that like actually like each other to like work well and to like actually get stuff done. And I think that's what YPAC is. Like I feel like yeah, we're all like I see them as like just my friends, but like friends that like we actually go on to do like really important things and like actually like make changes where I feel like I'm actually making a difference. Like I'm not just like doing whatever. And I feel like I live in Ottawa, but the OACS building is in Toronto, and I feel like whenever I go to that building, it's like a second home to me.
Awesome. Thank you. So then now that we know what the YPAC team is and can and feel what that experience is like for the young people that are involved, I'll give you a bit of brief history on Children and Youth in Care Day for those who aren't familiar. Children and Youth in Care Day was proclaimed by the government of Ontario on May 14th, 2014. And like we talked about, amplifying the voices of children and youth in and from care. It was inspired by the advocacy of the youth leaving care hearings. So it was inspired by youth who were experiencing the system. And every year, OACAS and the YPAC team, we collaborate on the theme and on the key messages in a really thoughtful and intentional way, which you'll hear more about. The Youth Leaving Care hearings, their motto was Our Voice, Our Turn. And those happened in May 2012 in collaboration with the Child and Youth Advocate of Ontario. And they had a team of youth that worked with the advocate to gather voices by traveling across the province and finding multiple different ways to engage. So they did some in-person engagements, but they also did social media and other ways for youth to engage to gather as many voices as possible, with the ultimate goal of going to Queen's Park in May. We were in front of Minister Parsa for about an hour, and then we had a reception for a couple of hours. They had 2 days of public hearings at Queen's Park to share their experiences and their recommendations. And the report that came from that was the My Real Life book report, which the link is in the link is in the slide deck, which we can share afterwards. But also, you can Google that and find it online and find the full report. It's very powerful, very impactful. But this is what drove the proclamation of Children and Youth in Care Day. So our planning with the YPAC team, I mean, I believe we started talking about going to Queen's Park in the fall. But the active planning really began in January. So we start by meeting about monthly. Most of the meetings are online, but then in February we spent 2 days together, like Malaya mentioned, that camaraderie and building those connections to really feel like they can share ideas with each other was really, really helpful. So we spent a couple of days together. It was action packed, and I will, in a moment, I'll give my friends a chance to share a little bit about their experience. But what I can tell you is that they were also very thoughtful and intentional when we talked about what kind of messages do we want to bring this time around, how many years later of doing this again. And one of the first things they said is we need to figure out what is the government already prioritizing because we want to maximize our impact, which I thought was brilliant, of course. And so we really started talking about the Ready, Set, Go program, what it's like to transition from care, what the changes to the Ready, Set, Go program have meant to them, including the increase in age. And then what were some of the challenges and recommendations that they wanted to make. So we very quickly focused in on that. In addition to looking at how are we going to build on the themes of the last 2 years? And so we built on Forget Me Not. Last year was Little Wins, and then Rising in Strength and Story. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we do that, Malaya, you were going to share a little bit about the planning experience. And certainly, Sammy, if you have something you want to add after that, please do. But I will pass it back to Malaya.
Yeah, I feel like the hardest part about the planning is like we just we have so many like opinions and thoughts, and it's like we had to just like narrow down what we actually wanted to say, because if we could literally meet with the minister for like years and like still like not have say everything we needed to say. So that was probably the hardest part. And then the actual like retreat weekend, it was so like amazing. Like we all, because we have all these like Zoom meetings and it's great, but actually to like meet in person and like just like we could just have like side conversations when there's like gaps and just like you get along, like understand each other more, grow together closer as a team. And so you see the cake and we did that cake because we kind of worked collaboratively to decide on a new name because the name was kind of redundant and had the word youth in it twice. So we decided on YPAC, and it was really fun. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it was really like helpful for all of us to just get together in a room and like talk and like grow together and like actually figure out what we wanted to say. What about you, Sammy?
I completely resonate with what you said. It was wonderful kind of congregating in one area and sharing your experience with like-minded people and people who've kind of been through the same experience. And even more so, it's impactful because it gives you an outlet as it gives you an outlet in the way that you're able to kind of mobilize the knowledge that you have and kind of use it for better and to help other people's situations. And I really appreciated that opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, mobilize. That's a fantastic word. That's exactly what happened, I would say, over the course of the weekend. I will point out it was probably the coldest weekend, maybe of my entire life, that we decided to do this. And we had a plan to walk to Little Canada together that morning and talked a lot about frostbite. But other than that, it was a fantastic couple of days. So hopefully we pick warmer weather for our retreat weekend next year. But yeah, it was a it was a tough walk, but it was bonding. So the trilogy that you've heard me refer to, so the image that you see on this particular slide was part of our key messages and social media pieces that went out. And then this was also something we turned into a very large poster that was the centerpiece that we brought to Child and Youth and Care Day. Children and Youth and Care Day, I do that all the time. So 2024 marked the 10th anniversary of Children and Youth in Care Day. And the theme for that year was Forget Me Not, just to remind folks really about like, don't forget that we're here and why we're here and what this day is supposed to mean. And it really created that foundation of visibility. It emphasized the importance of recognizing that every child and youth in care is a unique individual and to remember them for who they are and to make sure their voices were heard. So before I move to Little Wins, we have an opportunity for Malaya to share just a comment on that Forget Me Not theme, having been a part of it at the time.
Yeah, I feel like the theme really resonated with me. I feel like as someone who's been through the foster care system, there were so many times, like whether it was like my social workers making decisions about me, but just like not involving me. Like I feel like there are so many times where I just felt like my voice wasn't heard and it wasn't respected. Even though I had things to say and they were probably really good things for like a 12, 13-year-old. Um, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like especially in like whether it's like media, like TV shows, you don't really see representation, or just like when big government officials are like speaking about policy, I feel like we're only mentioned on like a footnote of footnote of like a budget cut, and I feel like I don't know. I feel like the that theme really like was really powerful, and I think just like we made like different like advertising poster thingies and just like seeing all of that was like really was impactful, not just to me, but also like other youth who aren't on this council and like saw that and I feel like they really like felt seen and like heard.
Yeah, absolutely. And then last year, building on that was that recognition of that, we don't have to, we celebrate big things and we should, but we have to remember to celebrate and recognize those little wins and that cumulative impact to actually build resilience of the little things every day that really need to be celebrated and recognized. And so the focus last year was very much on asking youth to share what was your little win? What is something that you're really proud of that maybe you felt was celebrated or maybe you felt should have been celebrated? And then there's a video from last year as well that really highlights some of those little wins that folks shared. And then they also had an opportunity to turn some of those ideas into a story that became a spoken word presentation last year, which was a really excellent event. And then this year was really about, okay, like we've got a good trilogy here. What makes a good trilogy? So we needed like that big, explosive sort of Return of the Jedi kind of finish, right? And so if I've aged myself, hopefully folks here know Return of the Jedi. I'm assuming you do. There's a new movie in theaters right now. Anyway, Rising in Strength and Story was really about how do we now take this beyond the story of who they are in child welfare. Rising in Strength, it really reflected the capacity of youth to navigate really complex systems and overcome barriers, building resilience. That they do have that collective experience, but they are individuals within the collective. And Rising in Story really highlights the importance of self-authorship and that they get to define their narrative, they get to tell their story, and they get to shape their future. And it was really powerful, a really powerful message. And I'm going to now pass it to my friend Sammy, who really created a beautiful reflection on the experience that she's going to share with you all today, but that she also shared at the Queen's Park reception to kick us off and really ground us in what the reception was going to be about. So, Sammy, I'm going to pass it to you to share your poem that you wrote for this experience.
Thank you, Sonia. As Malaya and Sonia said that forget me not and celebrating little wins are important. You know, sometimes it can feel like you're forgotten or you're in a system and it's kind of moving on without you. And that's why it's important to kind of bookmark like what what it feels like to be empowered. And that's what I was trying to emulate within this poem. And for me, rising in strength is it really resonates because I've taken my story, my pain, and my experience, and I've kind of created my own, or I've taken up on my own agency, one that I felt like I had lost within the system, within the instability and inconsistent changes. And I created the poem More Than to help perpetuate my voice and my experience in order to maybe support other people feeling the same way. And it goes as follows. I am more than an assortment or a number on a page. I am human and no less important than anyone here today. I am the flower that blooms in the harshest climates, the resilient fish that made it upstream. I'm the snow you see long after winter seasons. I'm the cooling summer breeze. I am the pain and the pleasure. I'm the duality that dichotomy breeds. I've been forced to hide, gagged, and blind, so that must make me the survival built instinctively. I'm interchanging, yes, but I'm also bound by childlike naivety. My mind is my cell, the bar is ignorance, and only I can set me free. It's funny the way I'm nothing at all, yet everything at once, the way I'm faceless until perceived. It's in the way I started last, but finished first. I'm everything I strive to be. My story didn't start with care. My story doesn't define my depth. Forget me not. I am more than a case file. Thank you.
Yeah. Getting lots of love, Sammy, lots of love. Yeah, so imagine a room full of folks, and that's how we kick it off. Like I hope that you're really starting to feel what it was like to be there. I'm not sure that that we can find a better way to kind of help you understand what the experience was than to hear from these young people and to feel what they felt and what they shared. And so I'm excited to now share the video with you that we created as a team to really combine all of these messages to create an opportunity for discussion and to try to have the best impact with as many voices as we could, knowing that not everybody was going to be able to join us that day. So what you're about to see, the script from this came from brainstorm after brainstorm, discussion after discussion, and really zoning in on what they wanted to talk about and workshopping the script together once we started to pull a draft. right up until the moment it was recorded, where we paused and said, somebody said, I think I'd like to do that differently or better. What do you think? And we stopped and we took some time to change it. And so I really want to highlight the ownership that the YPAC team takes over the script and the messaging that you're about to hear. I'm going to turn my camera off with the hope that that prevents it from lagging, but it might lag a little bit. So we're going to add the video to the chat. It is on the OACAS YouTube channel so that you can access it, but hopefully you'll be able to hear it. So I'm good.
Before you knew my story, you read about my life. But I am not a number. I am a person, and I am still becoming.
Forget-me-not is more than a flower. It's a reminder to see me, to hear me, to remember that I am here. Not invisible in systems, not lost in transitions, not reduced to what I've been through. I am more than what happened to me.
My story isn't only made of big moments. It's built in the quiet ones. Getting out of bed, asking for help, trying again. It's not a one-time thing. It's an everyday thing. And every day comes with its challenges and obstacles. Sometimes it's more effort to make that small step. Every step forward, no matter how small, is still movement and part of our journey. And those little wins, they built my strength. There is nothing small about surviving, about choosing to keep going when everything in you says stop.
Now I rise, not without scars, but because of them. Those scars don't weaken me. They remind me that I lived through those things that could have erased me. I have walked through systems that didn't always see me, held strength in places that didn't always support me, learned how to navigate what was never built for me, and still, I rise. And we are not the same stories. We are not the same paths, the same pain, the same endings. But somehow, we meet here. Like pieces that don't match until they do. Like branches reaching from the same roots. Different, whole, connected.
We rise together. Not because our stories are easy, but because they are ours. So, see us, not just where we've been, but where we're going. Walk with us, not ahead, not behind. And listen, not to fix, but to understand. Because we are not just stories waiting to be told. We are the storytellers.
Our experiences are different, but together. They connect, like pieces of a puzzle, like branches of the same tree. Our struggles are familiar. We are all connected. We are not alone in this. We rise together. Hear our stories.
And watch us rise.
Because we are more than our stories.
We are the ones writing them.
Rising in strength and story.
So hopefully you could see that and hear it really well. There's also a version with French subtitles on the OACAS website. So if you are trying to access the video or trying to show it to youth within your agencies, you can show it in English with French subtitles. Now I just have to convince it to go to the next slide. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second so I can get it to go to the next slide. Sorry about that. My computer has decided to freeze. There we go. Now I think I'm sharing the wrong screen. One more time. All right, we're back. Okay. So this leads us now to our day at Queen's Park. We had approximately 40 folks joining us, including the YPAC team members, child welfare staff, youth guests in and from care, some executive directors, and OACAS staff. And we all showed up at Queen's Park in the morning and made our way through security. And then we observed question period in the legislative chamber, which I would say was an educational experience. We had some good discussions about it afterwards, but we were also recognized as honored guests for Children and Youth in Care Day. From that point, the YPAC members of the YPAC team, there were 6 of us, 6 of them that entered into a lunch meeting and closed discussion with the Honorable Minister Parsa and his Chief of Staff, who her name is Jane, and she also has lived experience in child welfare, so it was really great to hear from her as well. And we went for that lunch, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the other members of our YPAC team went with all the other guests to a local restaurant where they engaged in some experiences and activities so that those youth could also have an opportunity to share their voice in similar ways. And then we regrouped back at Queen's Park for a reception. And I was really pleased that the MPPs for the youth that were present from the different regions were almost all there. We had at least 15 MPPs drop in throughout the reception and share their thoughts and provide welcome for everyone. And it was really great to see how they made time in their day. And I can attest to the chaos that is Queen's Park. So it was really great to have them join us. Skipped a slide. So the restaurant experience for the guests that were not part of the lunch with the minister, members of the YPAC team and OACAS hosted a lunch for them. And during that lunch, every guest was given a postcard, and we'll show you some of those images as well. But you can see the postcard being filled out. And the postcard design was designed by one of our YPAC team members, and she did a beautiful job creating the artwork for the postcard. And the team worked together on 3 prompts at the back of the postcard. At the reception, then we handed these postcards to the minister. And this is the front and the back of the postcard. So just a really beautiful message about how we gain strength. And then they certainly could add whatever thoughts they wanted to, but we gave some prompts to help them to determine, what are the things that we would suggest talking about that would go with the theme of the day. And hopefully you can see that. This is just one example of some of the messages that were included in the postcards. I'll give it a quick read in case you're having trouble reading it. One of our youth guests shared that I want our stories to remind people that no youth is too old to be given another chance at success, whatever that may look like for them. Many go into care as adolescents and face unique challenges with placements that impact their overall well-being and trajectories. And it's important to remember everyone deserves to be supported and fought for, not just their younger youth, and the provision of care should reflect the population needs. Really thoughtful messages that came from the young people. Some of it was gratitude about having a voice and about being heard, and how just the act of the day made them feel heard. So it was really exciting to be able to give them that opportunity. This is a picture of lunch with the Honorable Minister Parsa from our group that attended that conversation. And the focus was on the Ready, Set, Go program, like we talked about. And even though it wasn't a long meeting, like Malaya said, we could have spent days with him. And honestly, I think he could have spent days with us as well. He was amazing. The commitment was positive and immediate. So one of the things he said before the end of the lunch is that it's not enough to get together once every couple of years. We need to do this a couple of times a year. We need to make that happen. So we've already started conversations about not only when we would try to do that, but how do we make it accessible for youth across the province, and not just youth that can make it to Queen's Park, because it's a bit of an ordeal to get to Toronto, even if you're in Toronto. And so it was really important that that's part of our next steps. They started by sharing their gratitude for just the program, for being increased to age 23. and some of their positive experiences with having that support and the reduced stress that it was for them. But they were really also very real about the challenges that they experienced transitioning from care and some of the practical things that they could see as action items that really, for immediate change that doesn't require big changes in legislation. But also they looked at like, these are the things that when it's time for review, we'd really want you to review. But they were really interested in some of the great ideas for immediate change that folks had, and making notes and talking about how these are the things that we should be able to talk about. And I can say from a conversation that I had, and Malaya and Sammy aren't aware of this, but from a conversation that I had with the ministry yesterday, that event has filtered through members of the ministry, and they know about it, and they heard about it, and they heard about the things that they want to change. And so that conversation has carried forward really quickly to Minister Parsa's team. So I'm really excited to share that as well. So before I move on, Malaya and Sammy, as you can see from the photo, we're both a part of the conversation that afternoon. So I just want to pass it to them to share their reflections on that lunch meeting.
I feel like, first off, overall, I feel like I really like felt like I was at a table full of like all the cool people. Like, I don't know how I made it here, but like every single one of my peers at this meeting, they all like spoke so eloquently. They all made their points like so well and professionally. And also all the points that we did come up with, like I feel like were really like the big hitters that needed to be discussed about. We also talked about like just like we talked about like the good of that's come out of RSG, because it used to be like you got 1100 1100 each month until you turn 21, and then they kind of abandon you. So with the change of RSG, there's so many like good changes, but there's also so many like areas that can be improved upon, or even like parts of it where it kind of just like sucks. Like a part of it is like your money goes down every year, but it goes down on your birthday. So that's a great birthday gift. Um, but yeah, I don't know, like the minister, he seems like really like was actually like actively listening to us. Like I felt very heard, which is so like I feel like I meet with people who are like higher up, and sometimes I'm like, I don't know if they actually took in the information, or maybe they were like nodding along, but I don't know if any change is actually going to happen. But I feel like actually hopeful, especially with what Sonia just said. Like I feel like we actually did something, and he actually did listen and like seemed passionate about the RSG program and just like foster youth in general. Um, yeah, I think that's all. Oh yeah, also side note, there was like a buffet we had for dinner, and I literally had the best sushi I've ever had in my life. So that was great. So yeah.
I completely resonate with everything that you said, Malaya. But I do want to say that it was also, or no, let me piggyback off of what you said, because when you have these conversations with people who are, let's see, I guess you could say further in policy or higher up when it comes to like policy, it feels like your words are kind of just dismissed. But, you know, Minister Parsa was very receptive. He was very kind. He was very open as well. And it seems like he was very motivated by our conversation. And I did appreciate all of those things. What the point that I had brought up in the meeting was kind of what I had mentioned earlier in this webinar, about the fact that it feels like going through the systematic process of kind of RSG being in care, it feels like kind of like humanity is kind of left behind because everything's so put in place, everything's so set in stone. And I was speaking on the fact that it feels like it feels like kind of the way things are, it feels like you're just left behind. Like they wash their hands of you once you turn 23. So I was trying to speak on that. But yeah, the food was great. I love the experience. It was nice to kind of be on the other side of things instead of the receiving end. And that was empowering for me. Thank you.
That's a really great point, Sammy. I would say that 90% of the talking was done by the youth that were in that space. There was some support to facilitate their conversation with points that they were planning on making, but he listened. He made a few comments. Jane shared a little bit about her story, just so folks knew what she was bringing into the room. But they focused on listening, and it was awesome. And this is the group photo that we took with all of our guests that were there. You can see the Honorable Minister Parsa there. There's his Chief of Staff and multiple other MPPs, members of the YPAC team, the youth guests, some executive directors, and then also our OACAS staff that were there. And so this reception then was another really powerful and energetic experience. We launched the video, Sammy shared her poem, and then we asked the YPAC team to kind of step to the side. Let's go off to the side, and then let's bring our other youth guests now to the center of the table. Let's give them center stage. And after we shared the video and the poem and talking through some of the questions on the postcards, we hosted probably 45 minutes to an hour of just a youth forum consultation, sharing their ideas of what the video meant to them, what Rising in Strength and Story means to them, what their story means to them, and just the whole experience. And we had the YPAC team ready in case, we got some silence and if there was some shyness in the room. There was no shyness. It was wonderful. They were motivated and inspired by what they saw the YPAC team doing, and they raised their voices as well and shared just about the importance of continuing to create spaces like this and not just talk about youth voice, but actually put action to youth voice, to really operationalize what does youth voice mean, and how are we centering it, and how are we allowing youth to have the loudest voice when it comes to talking about the things that are about them. And so, of course, the idea of nothing about them without them shone through, but really the inspiration for Children and Youth in Care Day was just present all day. And so this is where I'll give my friends Malaya and Sammy that opportunity just to talk a little bit more about the reception as we get ready to wrap up our piece, and open the floor for questions or for folks to share just, what Rising in Strength and Story has meant to you all as you've kind of listened to us for the last 40 minutes.
I feel like my favorite part about the whole day was when we were in that room and there were a bunch of like youth in care like that aren't on our committee. Like some of them were younger, and just like when we asked them like what does strength and story mean to you, and have them like speak basically about whatever they wanted. I don't know. I feel like it just gave me hope because like even though I look young, I am older. I'm gonna age out soon, and just to see people who are like still teenagers, still navigating the system, but have such like impactful voices and really are just like I don't know. I feel like I'm like so like proud of like I guess the next generation of advocates or whatever. Like I'm so excited. I yeah, it just brought like extra hope and like I don't know. I feel like if I speak about this too much, I'm gonna start crying, but I'm just very like helpful, and that was like so impactful. Even just like that little thing of people just like, saying their truth, it like really like impacted me truly. And yeah, that whole day, it definitely was like stressful and was chaotic. But I think like everything really worked out so well, and I wouldn't change anything. What about you, Sammy?
No, I completely agree. It was wonderful hearing from the youth and currently in care, and it was quite empowering to have the YPAC group give feedback and give kind of, I wouldn't say advice, but like give guidance based on our own experience. And it was empowering, especially for me to share my poem in front of them, and because I essentially made it for them, So I love the experience.
Awesome. And I think that wraps it up. I don't have anything to add. They've covered it. It was a beautiful day, and it was yeah. I can't even begin to express I mean, we planned so much for it, and yet we pivoted so much on the day of, and they just they were able to do all of that and work with us and jump into a consultation. So I'm really pleased and proud of the team and happy to be a part of it.